is going on, all you wonderful A-plusers out there? It is I, Stuart, here once again to give you guys another Kamen Rider Saber review. This time, of course, I'm going to be talking about episode number 36, an episode that, once again, much like my previous week's episode, to me just really feels like they're building up to a big epic finale for the series, which is funny to me because, you know, it's only episode 36, and I believe, you know, most Kamen Rider series usually go for 45 to 50 episodes. So I'm wondering, though, with this being filmed during the events of COVID, if maybe that has kind of restricted the amount of episodes they've been allowed to do this season, so maybe we're going to be ending the series at episode 40, but if not, maybe they could drag it on to episode 45. It's definitely going to be a challenge for them. I'm not saying it's not going to happen, because it definitely could happen. I'm just saying it's probably going to be a challenge for the writers to keep the show going for like another 10 episodes, only because it feels like we're at a climax right now, because everything that the show has been building up to is now kind of being paid off, to say the least, because Kento's visions, for example, is kind of the biggest thing, is that everything that he's said was going to happen, we're like actually now seeing it happen in front of us, you know, so it's very close, leading to the world essentially disintegrating, and then, you know, one of two things could happen then, you know, either the heroes save the day, or we could possibly have the world end once again, and we see Kento, you know, witnessing it again before he gets sent back to the past one more time, and maybe Kento ends up being the hero they all need at the end. I'm not sure. I don't think that's how they're going to do it, because let's face it, it'd be kind of lame to have another time loop after, you know, you've just revealed that a character has been in a time loop for so long, but who definitely knows where they could go with these last 10 episodes, or, you know, even 15 if they choose to go up to 50 episodes. I'm just saying it's going to be a challenge for the writers, but with that all being said, this episode was another fantastic episode, keeping the momentum from the previous, so let's break it all down for you guys. Starting with this opening scene, which I thought was kind of sweet, although maybe a bit unnecessary, because it starts out with Sophia revealing her real origins, about her kind of being created in Luna's vision, basically kind of like she's a clone of her in a way, and it's weird because she feels like she's lied to the team for this whole time because she's never told them, but the team kind of has the same opinion as me. There's not really anything to apologize for. I mean, how we were born isn't really relevant because you've proven over time and time again that you are clearly fighting for our side. So I do like how, you know, I do love the team's response to her apology. Like, you know, there's no need, and they move on immediately afterwards, which I thought was incredibly sweet. We then have kind of the team discussing their next step, and one of it is revolving around Luna, and how that the next time she appears, she may offer Toma an ultimate power that Toma is going to have to accept in order to stop Master Logos once and for all. Toma's, of course, hesitant on it, but, you know, it's funny because you look at one of the reasons that, you know, he split from all the other writers earlier on is because the other writers were led to believe that Toma was just, you know, seeking power and nothing else. So it's kind of cool to see this moment here where we have Toma, you know, finding out that he actually must take that power and he doesn't want to, but then the same team members that essentially abandoned him before because they assumed he was seeking it for selfish reasons, they're now the ones convincing Toma to take the power. So it's kind of a moment that I personally thought was incredibly sweet. We then get the two siblings that work for Master Logos, and they are finally just now realizing that Master Logos might be evil. There's a little bit more to this, and I'll actually get to that in just a minute, but the two of them do decide officially that they are no longer going to be serving Master Logos, that he doesn't hold the overall vision that a master should have when, you know, leading the Sword of Logos. So they finally realize, yeah, it's time to put an end to their partnership with him. Meanwhile, he ends up kind of using his book to turn the world dark, but not like permanently, because it goes away immediately after in the next scene, which kind of surprised, because what I thought they were doing here, I thought they were going to kind of build up to a studio style fight scene where the fight would have taken place inside of a studio. It's kind of an easy way to do a lot more wire work and you know, that kind of thing. Helps you get angles that you normally can't get outside, so that's usually why you'll sometimes have some characters, maybe not in tokusatsus per se, but in a lot of American television shows, shows, a lot of fight scenes will take place at night just because it's a lot easier to film that way, you know, because then you can cheat it by filming it inside of a studio and making it look like it's nighttime. That's what I thought they were doing here. Sorry, that was a long rant, but I thought they were doing that here, but it goes away the very next scene as we see him facing off with the other riders, and it becomes a 5-on-1 fight, which, you know, I thought was okay. I'm not gonna lie, it definitely wasn't the best, but it's all because it's really hard to choreograph one person fighting 5 different other people. It's just a really hard thing to do and have it all make sense, because it would be it's so hard in real life to imagine one person being able to take on multiple people at the same time. So it's not the best fight scene. A lot of the shots, whenever they switch from one angle to another, they don't tend to match what was going on in the previous shot. But with that being said, I do think they did a really good job with what they had. I also, you know, I have to go back here because, guys, that costume is just absolutely beautiful. You know, I've been loving the suits this season in Kamen Rider Saber, but I've especially been loving a lot of the villain suits, and yeah, this reveal with his new Kamen Rider form, I absolutely love it. You know, 10 out of 10 right there. Probably one of my new favorite Kamen Rider suits, without a doubt. I absolutely love it. But anyways, he does turn out to, of course, be more powerful than any of the other riders once again, so he's able to just take them all out with ease. And then he retreats the battle, leaving a bunch of floating books in the air. Out of these floating books pops a hologram of himself, which he uses to announce himself to the world as like the world's new leader, saying that he will have mercy on those who choose to attack others. Basically, he wants to try to start World War III, essentially, because he tries to say that if other worlds, or if other like kind of countries and things don't want to be under his rule, or not that they don't want to be under his rule, but if they don't want to suffer consequences under his rule, is what it should said. Basically, they have to all go at war with each other, and what I think he's trying to do here is just making it so it's like everyone's so distracted with war amongst each other that they don't have time to fight him, meaning that by the time the wars are ended, the world has become weak and it's easier for him to, you know, have his final rule over the whole thing, or something like that. I'm not quite sure why he wants the world to go into World War III, but essentially that's kind of what he's, I think he just is spreading fear for the sake of spreading fear, is what I think he's getting at. But there might be the strategy I mentioned before. Maybe that strategy will play into it, who knows. But we then get a scene with Ren and the demon guy whose name I actually forgot. I think it's Disaster, if I'm not mistaken, that keeps following him around and, you know, has trained him apparently off screen. And I really don't know where they're going with this partnership at all, because it's so rarely on screen, and it seems like they kind of want to do a buddy thing between the two of them, but that we barely get to see the two of them bond, so even that's not really working. You know, and I feel like it's just happened way too late in the show, so it's just kind of weird to have this kind of thing just tacked on towards the very latter quarter of the series. So I don't know, it's one of those things where I feel like the writers are just trying something different, but it's just unfortunately not working on a comedic standpoint, and it's just not working really for a story standpoint. But maybe they are building up to something else, so I'll still wait and see what it all leads to. But as of now, I feel like these segments have just been extremely pointless. But we then cut back to the siblings, who are now ready to fight Master Logos. One thing I loved is they waited for him to say, hey, don't call me Master Logos, I'm now God. And that was kind of their excuse of being like, oh, great, because we only serve Master Logos. So that's what causes them to both henshin and get ready to fight him. And I do love this line that he says here. I thought I was able to capture the subtitles, but I wasn't. But before he's about to fight the two of them, you know, he tells them that the two of them are both slaves to their bloodline, which I thought was such an awesome line, because yeah, it makes sense, because their position essentially gets passed down generation after generation. So it's not like a job you normally sign up for. This is a job they were given at birth, and they feel like, you know, it's their absolute duty to serve. So I love that in a way that kind of makes them a prisoner to that, and I loved how he articulated that. You are a prisoner of your bloodline. And you know, I do a lot of writing myself, so I'm probably going to be stealing that line at some point. I'm sure I'll find some excuse to use that line in some upcoming film or short film that I got coming up. But yeah, I just thought it was an excellent line of dialogue. So, and I don't even know if that's what the actual translation was, or if that's just like the person doing the subtitles, if they just felt like being extra creative with it. But either way, I thought it was such an awesome line right there. So we then have Yuri going to Kento, trying to talk things out with him, trying to tell Kento that he knows what he's going through. He knows the big decision that he has to make, and it's currently kind of gone down to either Kento or Toma must receive the ultimate power to disappear, but also save the world in doing so. And Yuri reveals to Kento here that he's known about this the whole time. Now, Kento thinks that Yuri was trying to manipulate Toma into using this ultimate power, which would cause him to disappear but also save the world. So Kento's at first not happy, but Yuri does assure him that that was his intentions at first, but not anymore. Now he knows the kind of person Toma is, and he's seen how much Toma himself has just, changed reality on his own. So he does strongly believe that Toma will be able to fix the world without having to sacrifice himself in doing so. And so he tries one more time to get Kento to join them, and it doesn't look like Kento is quite up for it yet. He's still struggling, still contemplating. My kind of thought towards Kento, though, at this point is that you've seen so much changing at this point that wasn't in any of the other timelines that you visited. So like my thing is that, even if you're wrong, like if you join Toma, and even if it turns out to be the wrong decision, it's just another timeline. You're still gonna relive the whole thing and have a chance to change it all again. So why is that an issue? I don't know. We then get a fight. We get Toma and Rintaro joining the fight with the two siblings, but unfortunately it still doesn't go very well, and Yuri causes them to Yuri shows up in order to help them retreat at the very end. Very last scene we get, though, is Sophia approaching Kento, but Kento gives her a strange look, which makes me think this may not actually be Sophia, but it might actually be Luna. Now, like in her actual age of what she would have been had she not been taken away. That's my theory anyways. Or there is another thing, because we do see that another version of her was being cloned at the end by Storios. I actually almost forgot about that until just now. We did see that another version of Sophia was being created by Storios, so it is very possible that this is also the Sophia created by Storios. So it might not be Sophia or Luna, it might be just an entirely different character altogether. So I'm definitely curious to see where they go with this. But guys, either way, I thought this was another really good episode. Again, being able to continue the momentum left from the previous episode that we got, I think it did an absolutely fantastic job. I love where the characters are currently at. Even though there weren't any really character moments that stuck out with me in this episode in particular, I don't think there really needs to be, because we're so deep into the show where I feel like almost every character has fully reached what development they've needed over time. I think the only one who could really use some more, or the only two I think that could use some more development, are definitely Ren, because I still don't really know where they're going with his storyline, and then Kento, of course, because he still needs that last kick to realize that things can change for the better, and he doesn't have to resort to dark tactics in order to save the world. But yeah, so overall, guys, this was another fantastic episode. But of course, at the end of the day, these are just my A+ opinions. We here at A+ Opinions always want to know what you guys think, so definitely let me know in the comments below if you guys enjoyed this episode as much as I did. Definitely hit that like button, subscribe to our channel. But guys, of course, as we always say here, keep it A+.